That's the good stuff right here. Hard, soft literature. Yeah. I mean, sort of, kind of. I tell you what, I'll think I'll check it out. You know, I'm not normally one to destroy books, but I'm just kind of big for it. Hiya, folks, Fruit and Doggy here, doing another book discussion, and this time I am discussing the book Carnivore by Leigh Clark, or Leigh Clark. I'm not entirely positive how to pronounce that first name. Published in 1997. Excuse me. This is more of a horror survival, little sci-fi style of book. I'm just going to read the preview real fast. A limited food supply. In an isolated Antarctic research outpost, a small group of scientists made a once-in-a-lifetime discovery. For the first time, modern man would come face-to-face with the absolute ruler of the prehistoric world, the fearsome king of the dinosaurs, the mighty Tyrannosaurus Rex. Pardon. Blinded by scientific zeal, the researchers thought only of the importance of their find, the contribution to modern science. But soon they are forced to open their eyes to an inescapable fact. Once revived, the specimen needed to feed, and unlike some of his extinct relatives, this one was a carnivore. Already gain an idea of where this book is going. And I will point out, the cover of the book does definitely show the shadow of the dinosaurs. Not sure if this is incredibly clear on the video feed, but the entire white background with the research base, it actually does take place in the Antarctic. I guess I already read that in the preview. But this book is a little longer than the previous ones, about 310 pages. And I will have to admit, continuing a trend of somewhat negativity, this book has really no redeeming qualities whatsoever, and I really hate to sum it up that badly, but it's pretty much my take on the book anyways. I will mention, starting off, even just thinking about the premise, it does, I guess you could be generous and say, borrow from the Jurassic World concept right from the get-go. Scientists monkeying around excuse me, to bring dinosaurs back to life and then having to deal with the consequences. Excuse me. But whereas Jurassic World did at least enough properly to create an entire island ecosystem and in theory had enough resources set up to contain and deal with multiple, numerous dinosaurs, this facility struggled mightily to deal with a single Tyrannosaurus Rex. And again, Antarctic, I can understand their limitations a bit more, but the entire book is just, basically it makes everybody way too stupid. And I'll start off right at the very beginning. You basically have one criticism right off the bat is that this base has it doesn't give any idea of how many people are there, how large of a base it is, what the facility is like exactly, because my interpretation of an Arctic base, a base that far, that extreme of a climate, would have not necessarily very simple facility, but it would be small scale. I would think it would hold maybe a dozen people or so. I would think it'd be a pretty small scale system, because how many people are going to be up there conducting research? That would be about the only purpose for such a facility. And how many people do you really need to conduct experiments of that nature? It's not a very common occurrence. But again, it doesn't really give any concept of this. And this isn't even a spoiler. with this style of book, with this premise, people are being tossed through the garbage chute. They're being killed like crazy. And really, the way the book describes it, again, very generally, it makes it seem like dozens of people are dying just left and right, all over the place. So if I had to guess, hundreds of people were there, maybe, and they all... I guess this would be spoiler territory. I'm going to give away things in the book. Pretty much everybody dies. And I know I'm leaping all over the place. But the book starts off with, they find the dinosaur egg. That's a complete fluke. Sure. But the problem is that what happens is within this research facility, apparently there is a faction. It's basically a small group of Russians, theoretically maybe 3 to 5 people. They're kind of like a spy force within the American research team, I suppose. But they managed to take over the entire base pretty shortly after they goof. But this small little band, upon finding this dinosaur egg that is theoretically still viable for life, that's not fossilized, it was frozen, and oh, this is so stupid. But what they do is they take nuclear waste. That was part of what they were doing here, is they were dumping nuclear waste at this site, but they irradiate the dinosaur egg, and the result of this is that it speeds up the process of the dinosaur's development cycle. I just shake my head at this description. I don't know where this the author got this idea. I mean, it's science fiction schlock. It's complete nonsense. I'm not gonna beat them over the head for doing what other people have done, but it's so lazy. It's so stupid. This was written in 1997. Let me reemphasize that. So this lazy hand-waving away of all scientific rationale, of any common sense, I just don't think there's any excuse at this point. It's just completely asinine. So what happens is, what's going to happen is that they're going to transfer the dinosaur egg / dinosaur after it hatches to another research facility for who knows what purpose. I don't even know what the bad guy's motivation or goal was, truth be told. They were just going to steal the dinosaur, maybe, probably make a army of killer dinosaurs, cloning, blah, blah, blah. But anyways, what happens is they keep dumping more nuclear waste on this dinosaur, and instead of transferring it, baby, maybe about the size of a puppy, where it's very easy to control, they wait until it is colossal, and, not knowing anything about it, they basically just have a couple of tranquilizer darts, and they're hoping that that's enough to knock it out, and then some heavy metal netting, and, that they're going to be able to helicopter it out of there and no problems. And, you know what happens. Doesn't work out. Dinosaur escapes. Killing spree. And it's just utter lunacy. And I'm surprised the book is as long as it is, because it's very repetitive. The incompetent humans keep stumbling around. The dinosaur, with a degree of savvy and intelligence that it simply should not have, keeps taking out important elements within the base. Like, oh, there goes our communication system. Oh, there goes our power grid. Oh, there goes our food supply. There goes our transportation. It just keeps knocking out all of their vital resources. I mean, it's a prehistoric creature dealing with modern man and modern technology, and it's just somehow striking at all the vital areas with laser precision. I mean, a military task force couldn't do a better job, honestly. And what's funny too is, I thought I read somewhere that the author did some research before they wrote this, which hopefully I've already conveyed to you how ridiculous that sounds, that claim. But one thing that the author did is they kept making analogies between how the Tyrannosaurus Rex, again, colossal creature, was behaving in a way that was slightly bird-like. So, if you've ever seen, like, robins, they do that sort of little bunny hop as they're, pecking through the earth trying to find worms and stuff. And that's kind of how the movement of the Tyrannosaurus Rex is described at times. You know, the way it kind of bobs its head and little bunny hops, and it is so ludicrous. It's just stupid. And it's like, oh man, this person did their research. You know, they read that statement somewhere that, hey, birds are just the modern form of dinosaurs. What do you know? So, therefore, dinosaurs, even the really giant ones, they must have behaved in a way that's very bird-like, right? Right? That's how that works. I should mention there's two main leads, male and female, very classic. The male lead, they routinely antagonize the clearly evil bad guys. That was a redundant statement, but the bad guys who are treating the other human beings with complete disregard or murder people, no problem. He antagonizes them so many times without consequence. And it's because the leader kept saying, well, he may be of use to us yet. And it's just, what use? I mean, the main character has complete plot armor that is a mile thick. It is truly amazing and astonishing. So does the dinosaur at that. It escapes so many death traps, and even with, the bad guys and the humans trying to stop the dinosaur, even at one point, saying, hey, maybe we should start using lethal force. I was actually quite amazed that they didn't just simply, put two and two together. It's like, hey, this thing needs to eat a ton of food to sustain itself because it's huge, and it's doing in an incredibly frigid climate. So how about we just take our tranks and poison a bunch of meat, contaminate it with the tranquilizers, let it just gulp it down, and then boom, it goes out like a light. But no, they never think to do that. And actually, one of the things that gave the dinosaur plot armor was simply the bumbling of them trying to shoot it. It is a huge target, and you wouldn't believe how many times they couldn't shoot the dang thing. And if nothing else, even if they didn't want to kill the beast, it's like, okay, I mean, its eyes have to be the size of dinner plates. How about just blinding it? I mean, I'm sure, it could still wreak great carnage just with its massive size and its sense of smell, but blinding it wouldn't hurt. Oh, I mean, really, the more I talk about the book, the more details I go into, it just gets worse. And I will mention the female lead. She suffered from irritating, horrendous nag syndrome. That's the polite way to say it. She's complete B, if you want to put it that way. On the one hand, she was, we have to obey the law. The law is all important. You're breaking treaties. And then it's like, hey, wait, we've got this live dinosaur. We need to feed it. Well, kill I mean, you know, it needs to eat meat. Just kill a bunch of seals. That's okay. Kill an endangered species so we can keep monkeying around with nature and science, playing a little bit of God. Let's keep this horrendous beast alive. Just club a bunch of seals. Yeah. What's so bad about that? I am completely done with this book. I read it. The other thing that really cheesed me off is that it has an incredibly abrupt ending. You know, a very small handful of survivors, you can count them on one hand. That's the only people alive, that's including the dinosaur, at the very end. And by the time the book's over, you don't actually really know what happens to everybody. You know, they're alive, but do they make it back? Does the dinosaur manage to survive through the Arctic now that it's wiped out all the humans? And the seals, hey, they figured out just hide underwater. Excuse me. Who knows? That really ticked me off when it just pulled the rug out from under me. It just ended. No closure, no wrap up, no idea what's going on. What's kind of the resolution. So I was already ticked. I was already fed up and done with the book. But I wanted to see how the author was going to wrap it up. And I didn't even get that satisfaction. So with this book, I have no qualms about saying that this is a dumpster burner. Throw it in a dumpster and burn it. It's not even worth reading. It's just good for the paper. Recycle it. You know, wrap cigarettes in it for all I care. I hate this book. It's completely stupid. Unlikable characters. Incredibly stupid. And I mean, head made out of brick when they're supposed to be scientists. Stupid. You know, science fiction that would have been insulting in the 60s and earlier, you know? It's like, hey, shouldn't we know a little bit more about science and radiation by now? Nah, what do we know? So, yeah, excuse me. I guess at this point, I'm done. I would just keep rambling, complaining. I've done enough of that. So this one I don't recommend even touching. Just burn it. And on that note, hope you enjoyed it, folks. Have a good one. Bye.